I usually don't do this, but I had to do another showcase on Volkanovski after that dominant performance at UFC 314 against Diego Lopez. For him being 36, being the first fighter from like the featherweight and lightweight division to win the title back at 36 is just really impressive. It's so much harder to do at these lighter weight classes. Because especially a lot of these bigger guys like Diego, guys are cutting more weight and they're very large for the weight class. But that didn't stop Volk. He did take some damage. He did face some challenges and adversities. But at the end of the day, he just showed that he had a way more dense toolkit than Diego Lopez that night. From his footwork, the low kicks, just everything, mixing levels, and just not staying in the pocket for too long. And when he did, he would counter. He was always ready, always had an answer for everything Diego was trying to throw. Just being very hard to hit for the most part, besides a few exchanges. But yeah, that fight was amazing. That card was definitely a 10 out of 10 for me. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. That was one of my favorite pay-per-views. Main card-wise, of course. There's been some other crazy cards with even better prelims. But as far as the main card, that was amazing. I wish Carlos Prates was a part of the card. He was originally, but, Jeff Neal had to pull out due to an injury. So, fortunately, we didn't get to see that matchup. I didn't really care for the matchup, but I just want to see Carlos Prates. He is from the Fight Nerds Gym. People are talking about this matchup right here and how it'll go. We've only seen him against Bryce Mitchell. Nothing against Bryce Mitchell or anything. I know I made funny videos about him, but that's not enough to show that he would pose a threat to Volkanovski, especially after seeing what he was able to do and survive against Diego Lopez. Definitely one of the harder punchers in this weight class, especially now that Ilya's gone. One of the main ones that has a lot of power behind his hands next to Josh Emmett. But it's harder to have a lot of power at this weight class. That's why it's a rarity. But Diego Lopez being so big carries a lot of power. But I don't really think Gene Silva poses a big threat at all if he was matched up against Volk. I think Volk's experience in championship bouts against, elite competition would definitely carry him to a win. He's literally 3-0 against Max Holloway, the second best featherweight ever. Yeah, our opponent definitely wasn't feeling that matchup. Now, unfortunately, we do have to do a mirror match. I'm recording this later at night, so I keep running into the same handful of people, and sometimes I have to do a mirror match here and there, unfortunately. But with Volk, I'm trying to be, very fleet-footed. I use my low kicks when I can. Unfortunately, in some matchups, they pressure you so much to the point where, you can't really low kick too much. And you got to understand those type of fights. If you try to force leg kicks too much against people that are trying to smother you and pressure you, you will pay the price. But for the most part, when people are doing this, I just try to take my counters when I can, make the reads. See, if he's overextending on a combo, and I like to back up, throw a teep, to catch him while he's missing that short-term stamina. Even if it's small things like body jabs, body crosses, those lighter teeps, it doesn't matter. I try to land them, especially very early on. Look, we got a decent stamina lead already. Considering this is prime Volk with 100 cardio, that is a pretty good, stamina lead. And we got some good stamina loss on him, so it make it easier. We were trying to duck that, but we're just a little bit too slow on that. We're using the active model because, it has the shorts, the custom shorts that Volk had at UFC 314. So we're going to be using the active one. But yeah, we combo up right there. Just throw him off guard. Catch him off guard right there. Look at that. We stay and extend our combo, and it ended up leading to a drop. Now we're starting to combo up a little bit more. We're slower in the beginning, but the body damage, the punishment I was landing very early on is definitely paying dividends right now. He does drop us. We're able to recover. He walks forward with a knee, and we're able to drop him right there. Just basically switching levels with all of our punches. Very frustrating for our opponent. Fortunately, he did leave. We're going to be facing Ilia Topuria. In this matchup, you definitely don't want to engage too much. I mean, if you have to, do what you got to do. But the power discrepancy between, Ilia and Volk is crazy. So, he literally has 99 power with 5-star everything with the hands for the most part. His jab, lead hook, overhand with the 99 power, very fast speed. You don't want to exchange too much with him. So he does take us down though, which is a surprise. I thought he was going to try to use his power, his boxing to, win the fight. Because most Ilias do that. Most Ilias don't really grapple. So just being patient, we deny right. We're going to punch a few more times to get more GA. And I did that sweep by, doing the get up to the right. And then as soon as I started doing it, I just held L1. And it turns into the sweep right there. Now we got full mount. Just going to see what he's going to do. We're going to deny right. Just take our time building GA. We're going to posture up. Doing some heavy damage with this ground and pound. We got 95 ground striking. So, we're definitely going to be using that. He's able to slip one of our straights, so forces us to posture down. He does give up the back with a power modifier. We deny right twice. Now we deny left. We deny right again, just to make sure he has no stamina. And right there we got the one-shot rear naked choke. We're going to be facing a Brian Ortega. Definitely had a weird rhythm going on, but it is later at night, and yeah, I am pretty tired, so I just felt inspired to do a showcase, after seeing some highlights of Volkanovski against Diego Lopez. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. What would you rate his performance? Is this one of his best, worst? Let me know what you guys think. To me, of course, it's not his best. He's not in his prime. He is older, but that was still one hell of a fight. I'm just so surprised, though. I had Volk winning either by a decision or a round 4 or 5 TKO. So I kind of figured the fight would go like this because when I was, watching some breakdowns, I would see him stay in the pocket too long, get cracked, or leave the pocket with his chin up and kind of just trying to, pull away, if you will, to reset distance. And that's gotten him caught multiple times before. He did get caught a few times, but he was still able to prevail, recover. He was shooting takedowns, crashing into Diego Lopez, forcing those clinch exchanges when he was hurt. So he was able to recover. Still very impressive. I'm happy to see Volk as champ again. He's talking about even returning, I think as soon as July. Yeah, something like that against Mozar Engelev, undefeated fighter. He hasn't been crazy active. I think the last time he fought was UFC 300. I think so. I'm not too sure when was the last time he fought. I know it was against Aljamain Sterling. I'm not sure if that was 300 or not. Pretty sure it was. But yeah, he's proven to be a tough fight. And he's still undefeated. Beat, top contenders. More than a few top contenders in the featherweight division. So he's probably going to be next up. So he's probably just waiting for his title shot, which is going to be against Volkanovski. I just see Volkanovski winning that fight relatively easily. I mean, he's went against the likes of Brian Ortega, Islam Makhachev, and yes, Ortega did catch him in a submission. But, I mean, look at the will he had to fight through that submission and still come back and win the fight. Well, not come back, but, I mean, get up and win. Because he was winning that fight pretty easily. But I just don't think Mozart poses much of a threat. He doesn't have crazy power. But, Volk is getting older. Of course, that does play a big factor. And as far as in the grappling, I don't see him, bullying Alexander Volkanovski with wrestling or anything like that. So if he can't get the fight to the floor, I just don't see him really winning. I see Volk winning another easy decision I don't see a late round stoppage. For the simple fact, Mozart seems to have really good cardio. He was grappling with Aljo and doing a lot. He even grappled a whole bunch with scrambles and submission attempts and a whole bunch of things going on that I don't fully understand. I'm not a grappler with against Diego Lopez. In that fight, he just showed that he could definitely last. Well, those are 3-rounders, so we haven't seen him in a 5-rounder, I don't think. And I think he has. Yeah, correct me if I'm mistaken, but someone putting on the pace that Volk can for 5 rounds, that's just different compared to a guy like Arnold Allen. Vastly different. Major skill level difference, but it'll be interesting to see. So hopefully Volk doesn't come back too fast. That's all I'm concerned about. He definitely should take some rest. He did take some damage. But here we're just feinting, really, because he was really hell-bent on throwing uppercuts as soon as he would see us go to the body. We're just using that against him to make him react. And right there, we got the knockout. Hope you guys enjoyed the Volkanovski showcase. And, we post daily, so stay tuned for more content.